we're going to go from Colby Thomas to Jacob Wilson, who there's a pretty massive jump in the OFP tier for these guys. Jacob Wilson is a 60
Mhm.
for us. I love Jacob Wilson. Jacob Wilson was kind of viewed when he was drafted, right? Everyone's like, oh, the A's kind of got screwed. There was 5 really good prospects in that draft. We're talking about the Wyatt Langford, the Paul Skeens, some guy who's one of the best pitchers in baseball. Drew Dylan Cruz, and then we had Max Clark and Walker Jenkins. And everyone's like, well, the A's, they're a rebuild that kind of needs it. And all of a sudden, Jacob Wilson is looking like a franchise shortstop for them. Now, the thing is with Jacob Wilson is the power is never going to be anything crazy, right? We're never going to be talking about a 30 home run shortstop, but we could be talking about an 18 to 20 home run shortstop because I think he has shown that he can backspin batted balls a little bit better than I think he was given credit for. I think that he can be a little bit more lift and pulley when he wants to be. I mean, we're talking about a guy who across the minor leagues hit 433, 473, 668. So we're talking about a
Mm.
guy who hit in the minor leagues. Like he was 100% better than league average as a minor leaguer, and he flew through the minors. He made his major league debut. He had a little bit of an injury snafu, but again, we're talking about a guy who doesn't strike out over 10% of the time. He's a guy who walks a little bit. He does swing out of the zone because he can make contact with it. Because he shows this preternatural feel for making contact. He needs to learn to lay off some pitches and be a little bit more selective. That will raise the walk rate, and that'll also raise or get rid of some of the ground balls that he hits. Like I think that with Jacob Wilson, he already shows elite bat to ball skills. I think he just needs to be a touch more selective and allow his bat to ball and his one carrying tool, right? Because he has an elite tool and a 70 hit tool. We could be talking about a guy who leads the league in batting average and all that when all is said and done. So I think he needs to allow that to play up a little bit more. Then there's going to be more power instead of chasing these pitches that he doesn't need to swing at. Like he can just be a little bit more selective and unlock more offensive upside. Jacob Wilson is one of my favorite prospects in all of the minor leagues.
And justifiably so, buddy. I think that you have good taste, obviously. Uh, the thing with Wilson, like you said, exactly what does that kind of has not hesitancy, that's not the word I'm looking for, just more discipline. Again, I guess is what I'll go with him to maybe miss out on some more of those ground balls and hit that into the gaps. Um, Wilson doesn't have just a ton of power, and that's fine. You want him to make contact, and he's got the smooth glove in the dirt, the moves in the dirt. He's not as smooth as others, but I think that he's very, very good. Major league credible. I'm curious sometimes, Reese, with guys like Wilson, whose hit tool is the carrying tool. And, like you said, he hit over 400 last year in the minor leagues. What about just, once he's not injured and he can just settle, just get into a routine in the major leagues and just settle, get comfortable, essentially is what I'm getting with him. If he's comfortable, maybe he will avoid some of those kind of pitfalls and those errors and just kind of settle in. That's what I'm expecting to see of Wilson. And he's a guy I want everywhere this year in fantasy. Everywhere. Everybody's talking about breakouts on this team, like Lawrence Butler didn't just break out. This is the catch you need to be looking at. It's Jacob Wilson.
Yeah, I especially think like with the small sample size that we saw of him in the major leagues, he was, I think that he needs to realize that that sort of approach isn't as viable in the major leagues. He just needs to dial it back a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. I
Mm-hmm.
wrote in the end of the report,
Mm-hmm.
right, where I kind of talk about what I think their upside is. I think that he can be like if Luis Arias had a little bit more lift and pull and could play shortstop. I think that's the upside with Jacob Wilson.